You're probably scrolling through a dozen 75-inch screens right now, wondering if any of them will actually fit into your living room or office without turning it into a showroom for a movie theater. I get that feeling spending a few $100s on a display that ends up looking flat, or worse, having a bunch of ports you'll never use, is the kind of regret nobody wants. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's break down whether the Sharp M752 is the kind of big screen upgrade that earns its size, or if it's just another oversized pane of glass. First off, the sheer size of a 75-inch panel changes the way you interact with content. When you sit a typical 2-meter distance away, a 4K resolution of 3840x2160 means you can actually see the individual pixels from that spot, which keeps the picture looking sharp whether you're watching a documentary or scrolling through spreadsheets. In my own home office, I've set it up on a low-profile TV stand and use it as a primary monitor for video editing. The extra screen real estate lets me keep the timeline, preview window, and effects panels all visible at once without constantly tilting a secondary monitor. For anyone who does a lot of multitasking, think graphic designers, financial analysts, or even gamers who like a full-screen map on the side, that resolution on a 75-inch canvas is a real productivity boost. Now, a lot of people assume that a TV-sized display automatically comes with a built-in smart platform, but the Sharp M752 leans more toward being a pure monitor. It has a remote control, which is handy for quick channel-less switching between HDMI sources, but you won't find a full Android TV interface or App Store baked in. If you need a smart hub, you'll still have to pair it with an external streaming device or a PC. That might be a deal-breaker for someone looking for a plug-and-play Netflix box, but it's a non-issue for anyone who already runs a media server or uses the monitor as a workstation. Connectivity is where Sharp tries to future-proof the unit. You get HDMI, DisplayPort, a 3.5mm audio jack, RJ45 Ethernet, a USB-A hub, and a USB-C port that can handle video as well as data. In practice, that means you can run a gaming console, a Blu-ray player, and a laptop all at the same time without fighting for an input. I've got a Dell XPS docked to the USB-C, a PlayStation 5 on HDMI, and a Chromecast on the other HDMI, and I can flip between them with the remote or a quick press on the front panel. For a small office or a family room where multiple devices are the norm, that port variety cuts down on the need for extra switches or adapters. The built-in dual speakers are another practical point. Many large monitors ship with tinny, almost unusable audio, but Sharp speakers deliver a decent level of volume for casual movie nights or background music while you work. They're not going to replace a dedicated soundbar for a home theater experience, but they're far better than the whisper-quiet options on some competitor models. If you're the type who hates the clutter of external speakers, you'll appreciate that they're already integrated and the remote lets you adjust bass and treble on the fly. Energy consumption is often overlooked in the big screen conversation, but the M752 carries an Energy Star 8.0 compliance badge. In real terms, that translates to a lower power draw during typical daylight viewing compared to older 75-inch LCDs. Over a year of daily use, the savings might be modest, perhaps a few dollars on your electric bill, but it's a nice credential for anyone trying to keep their home's carbon footprint in check. It also signals that Sharp has tuned the backlight and panel efficiency, which often correlates with more consistent brightness across the screen. Speaking of brightness, the spec sheet lists a 1200-something figure that likely refers to nits of peak brightness. While I haven't measured it with a colorimeter, the picture in a bright living room stayed vivid enough that I didn't need to crank the backlight to full blast. That said, the display isn't HDR certified in the same way as high-end OLEDs or mini LEDs. If you're a cinephile chasing the deepest contrast and brightest highlights, the HDR performance here feels more like a Niceto-Have garnish than the main course. The image is solid for everyday TV and PC work, but it won't blow you away in a darkroom movie marathon. Now, let's talk about who should actually consider buying this. If you have a dedicated media wall or a spacious home office and you want a single screen that can double as a TV, a monitor, and a basic conference display, the Sharp M752 checks a lot of boxes. Its size makes it ideal for collaborative work. Think architects spreading out blueprints or teachers displaying a classroom presentation to a whole group. The multitude of